So in here, there's some, I like to look in closets because a lot of times they don't get noticed. In here, there's some prior repairs in the ceiling. So I'll notate that in my report, and then I will keep that in mind.
I see, yeah.
When I reference the roof section, just to verify that. So here you have your drywall nails popping. It's typically an indication of some sort of movement or the drywall kind of swelling up and forcing the nails out. But I don't see any water stains around it. So it could very well just be the nails are coming back through.
Okay.
So chimneys are always a common area where you'll see water stains. So we try and focus on looking at all the areas that are prone to moisture intrusion. This is just a crack in the drywall that's been sealed. Now, if there was a crack and then you had some yellow staining around it, then the crack would be a result of a roof leak or some sort of leak.
Looks like they could have redone something right there.
Yeah. So you see, I don't know what it was. Actually, that is water stains. So if you notice down through here, you do have some staining. So at some point, and what that tells you is at some point they knew they had a leak, and they may or may not have attempted a roof repair, but then they came back and touched up the drywall, but then it leaked again, and now the water stains are coming through. So whether or not they repaired this area, whoever did that work didn't do a good enough job. So sometimes this isn't from water, but sometimes you'll see the silicone separating, like it's doing here. And so if you see that on like crown molding or baseboards, that's typically from moisture intrusion. On here, it's probably just the weight of the cabinets kind of coming down a little bit. So these are acrylic skylights. They typically last about 15-20 years. They have a 10-year warranty on them. And they start to deteriorate or crack at the corners. Typically they're double dome acrylic, meaning there's 2 layers of plastic. So if the top layer is cracked, you still have the secondary layer beneath it to keep the water out. And the 2 layers also act as insulation. There may be a crack in that, or it could be just a piece of grass or something like that. Again, I take overview pictures of every room that I inspect. That way, in the future, that if a leak does develop, I'll have my photographs that I can reference back to see if the leak was present at the time of the inspection or if it was new since the inspection. So right here, we have what is called a cricket. We'll be able to get out and look at this, but just from this window, we can see a couple issues. The tiles in the cricket are too close together, so you have a buildup of debris. In the very top, the apex of that structure, the mortar on top is cracked, which will allow water to. So I see some water stains on the bottom here, on the windowsill, in both locations. And so it's not automatically a window leak or a roof leak. It could just be from someone spilling their water. So I looked up in here and there's nothing in here that I can see. And I'm also inspecting the back side of the fascia board through the window. Because if this was a roof leak, you would also have water stains on the fascia board too, and I don't see that, so. Not too concerned about the water stains on the windowsill. We have another water stain right here in the master bedroom. Again, we have another chimney, so we want to pay attention to the chimney because this structure will penetrate through the roof system and it has flashing kit around it. So you can see a leak here. So this is a window system, it's not necessarily a skylight. We have water, you probably can't see it, we have water stains coming down on this side here, but more prominently over here too, you can see the streak can come all the way down. So you have about 4 or 5 streaks here. And typically what that is from is the glass panels on top not being sealed properly. So we would refer out a glass company to take a look at this, because it's separate from the roof system. And it's actually really good to notate this in your report, because if this turns into a repair or a re-roof and the owner of the structure doesn't do anything with the glass, it starts to rain and they see water damage or water traveling on the wall, they'll automatically call the roofer who did the roof instead of the glass company. So it's better just to be able to identify the problem areas and refer out when needed. So there's our attic. Let me go grab the ladder and I'll be right back. Okay, so start with an overview picture. Whether or not we're going to be able to see any signs of moisture stains inside the garage, we'll at least have a photo that indicates that we inspected the garage. So all of this section, here's your main carrying beam. This carrying beam is like a big header. That carrying beam typically is about the position where the roof on the single-story garage will terminate at a second-story wall on a 2-story house. So all this stuff will be underneath living space. So we typically won't see water stains here unless it's directly from a bathroom. But out front, this is all underneath the roof system. So a lot of times you'll actually see moisture stains on the carrying beam itself, because that's where your roof to wall transition's at. Drywall patch there. So that's your texture delaminating. And instead of fixing the texture, they just painted over it. And then again, you got the drywall popping, which is an indication of moisture stains too. So we'll take a picture of this and pay special attention to it once we get on the roof section. So if you're just hopping on the roof, like a lot of other roofing contractors do, to do a roof inspection, you'll miss all these water stains. We've already identified 3 different areas of moisture intrusion that on a tile roof system you wouldn't be able to identify just hopping on the roof. Okay, let's go to the attic. And we'll set it against like the cabinet or something, but if this access hatch is in the middle of the room, you can't use your telescoping ladder because then you can't lean it up against anything. So I like to use the step ladder. Now we know that there's fire sprinklers up there, and the agent already told us that it was the 1st gen system, so it's kind of finicky. So I'm not going to go crawling around through the attic because I hate to
have a leak.
Yeah. So this is a really valuable part of the inspection because people can paint the ceilings, but in the attic, you'll be able to see the water stains. I've only seen one attic where people actually paint the attic to hide the water stains. So all these orange lines are your fire sprinklers. They're pressurized and they're tapped into the city water before your main shutoff. So say you break one of these fire sprinklers and you go turn off the water, the front of the house, it won't turn off the fire sprinklers.
Okay. Yeah, that's really bad.
Yeah. So you'd be, unless you know how to turn them off, you'd be from these locations. I can't see any water stains. Sometimes, so you have your ducting. The ducting's been up in this attic for a while, so the top of it gets dusty. You can, instead of seeing water stains up top, you can always look at the top of the ducting as well to see if you see any water streaks. This is also an area where rats will run across the top. So over here you'll see probably some urine stains from that. The next step would be to do the perimeter of this, the roof system. So similar to the attic, the drywall isn't hiding anything, so you're able to see dry rot and water stains a little better. So basically I'll be looking at the shiplap, the freeze blocks and the rafters, as well as the fascia boards.
Whoa. See broken tile on the edge, the top.
Yep. And if you notice where the fascia board comes out, that corner is dry rot too.
Yep.
Something you also want to take a look at is your siding, because at areas of leaks, you'll have discoloration along the siding. So here's our kitchen location where you saw that moisture stains. It's not a roof system. What it probably was coming from is the holes that were created from the screws holding that conduit. And so if you notice, 2 of those screws have been sealed, but there's 2 others that have not been sealed yet. So right here around the chimney we have a leak. So you'll notice on the first bay on this side of the chimney, you'll have 2 streaks on the first starter board and then 2 streaks, or 2 or 4 on the second starter board. The window trim's all beat up. You got dry rot on it, but that's something that we don't comment on. So here's water stains too. Right here, so that's your fascia board running this way. You see the dark lines coming down the backside?
Yeah.
No reason why there's water there. So this is dry rot. So remember when we were inside that room and we were pointing to that cricket? So this is where one of the crickets terminates, and I guarantee if there's this much moisture damage here, there's going to be moisture damage on the other side of the cricket too. So you got water stains in the freeze block, and the termite company has already come out here and poked around. You have organic growth growing just from continuous moisture. And here's the other side of that cricket, where we have more dry rot in this corner as well. And this was a leak that we weren't able to see inside the garage. So it's really valuable to be able to inspect not only the interior, but also the exterior before you get to the rooftop. This is a concrete S-tile roof system. The tiles themselves are a standard weight tile. They'll last about 7,500 years.
from date of installation. However, the waterproof underlayment beneath the tiles is a single layer of 30-pound felt, and that typically lasts 25 to 30 years from date of installation. I don't know the age of the house, but based on the previous steps of the inspection, I'm willing to bet that the felt underlayment is at least 25 years, probably closer to 30, and is probably at the end of its life. So I took an overview picture before I walk on the roof, and very first thing we notice is this broken tile. Someone came out and repaired a broken tile with mortar instead of properly replacing the tile, and that mortar has since either been damaged or the tile slid, but at any rate that crack is still exposed to the elements and will allow moisture intrusion. If you recall that leak in the garage where the texture was delaminated from the drywall, that's right below this roof to wall flashing, and you see all those tiles that are sliding down. So you have your original mortar, the mortar's concrete, and then from there the tile slid down. Someone used a silicone, pushed it back up, it slid down again. They used another different color of silicone, and so this has been an ongoing issue, and they've never resolved it properly. So right in front of you we have an overexposed tile. Basically meaning that when the roof was installed, they didn't install the tiles properly with the proper 3-inch headlap, resulting in the nail, the mechanical fastener being exposed to the elements. So anytime you have an exposed nail, it's going to leak. You have a broken tile right here, and this is about where that leak was at in the entryway. So you have a big void under here because this is where your two transitions are at. And so basically when that broken tile's there, all the water's just gonna come down here and travel underneath the entire roof system. So this is definitely the cause of the leak. Up here, you have your roof penetration, where the ABS pipe goes through the flashing. That transition needs to be cleaned and resealed. The NRCIA recommends every 2 years to clean and reseal all your pipes to prevent this from cracking. Once it's cracked, it'll have a high likelihood of allowing moisture intrusion. Right here you have a slip tile. These two tiles are slipped, and the cause of that is when the roof was installed, they didn't nail those tiles. And you can actually see the nail holes up top, and they were never nailed. So each tile weighs about 8 or 9 pounds, and with the pitch of the roof and gravity, it'll just slowly slide down. Over here we have a valley. The valley is where two roof sections come together. All the water will go to this valley, and then that valley is responsible for getting the rainwater off the roof system. In this valley, when the roof was installed, they brought the tiles too close together. So in some locations, the tiles are either touching or overlapping. The problem with that is you got trees nearby, and with your wind, it'll deposit debris in the valley. Once debris builds up in the valley, that debris will prevent proper drainage of the rainwater and will make the water go in unnatural directions, resulting in interior leaks. And in this case, you got all this dry rot. So basically that rainwater was pushed laterally under the tiles and then causing all this dry rot. So in the master, remember that leak? You have your chimney here. This is about that leak location. Now, typically pipes go into walls. If it's traveling down, it's gonna go into a wall, but not necessarily. So it can go into the attic and then have a turn in the pipe. And where that turn is at, either a 45 or a 90, that's where if water comes down here, goes in the crack, and then it turns, the water will drip right where it turns. And that pipe definitely needs to be resealed, so I'm willing to bet that that leak was from that one. So that thing that we thought was potentially a crack is not, but in the skylights, in the corners, and we couldn't see that on the inside, is the corners are all cracked. Okay, so we saw multiple leaks throughout the house and throughout the perimeter as well. So
The perimeter.
yeah, so the eaves. So like on that corner right there, you see some dry rot. Right here, you have dry rot as well. And none of those are what we saw inside. Those are separate from what we saw inside. I'm gonna put this right here. So you see the water stains coming down the front and that rust stain. And then you look up in here,
Yeah.
all this dry rot. That's from a roof leak. You also have a roof leak in the middle of the garage. It's been painted over. It's right there. And what that's a result of is, if we step back,
So what's causing the roof leak? Is like a broken tile? Or
it's mainly old age.
old age.
Old age, improper workmanship, and deferred maintenance.
Okay. Is it to do with anything with termite?
No.
So because they didn't finish the section 1 termite reparation, so I was just wondering how's that going to be related with the roof thing, or it's not related at all?
So this
Uh-huh.
is dry rot from a roof leak. However, section 1, the termite company is responsible for replacing dry rot,
Right.
termite damage.
Right.
So they will fix the wood,
Uh-huh.
but they're not fixing the cause. The cause is a roof leak. So up in this section, we have a cricket. It's called a cricket,
Okay.
where it collects rainwater, and it wasn't done right since the house was built.
Okay.
Throughout the rest of the roof, you have broken tiles, a lot of deferred maintenance in some areas where there's substandard workmanship from faulty installation.
Okay.
So you kind of have a combination of everything, but the underlying factor is that the roof is old.
Uh-huh.
It's past its serviceable life.
Okay.
So you have your felt underlayment, which is beneath the tiles. That is your waterproof membrane for the structure,
Uh-huh.
and that felt underlayment has a life expectancy of 25 to 30 years.
Okay.
And that if it's built in 90, we're past
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's our professional recommendation to replace the roof system.
You mean the whole roof system?
Yeah, because you have multiple leaks inside, and you have a lot of roof issues.
How much is that going to cost?
I'll have to take measurements of the roof, but you're probably 25, 30 grand.
25 to 30 grand.
So that gives you kind of a verbal.
Uh-huh.
That way, when you put in your repair request, that at least you have that in your knowledge.
Yeah.
And then we'll follow up with a written report with the exact number on the report.
Okay. Fine.
Do you have any questions?
No. I guess that's all I need. I guess I'll just wait for your guys' report to attach with my repair request.
So I know is today your deadline for the repair request?
No.
Okay.
We still have time.
We'll I'll get it to you within 24 hours.
Great.
But I'll work on your report first.
Mhm.
That way you have it as soon as possible.
Okay. Great.
Now, did the buyer give you a check for today?
No, Barrett didn't give me anything.
What I'll do is I'll email you. I think did you give John the information?
Yeah, I do. I give John my business card.
Okay.
But
I have Tim and Befferly Associates at Gmail.
yes.
Okay.
Or actually, you could either directly contact the buyer, or you can bill to escrow.
Not for the inspection.
Oh,
The
not for the
Yeah,
inspection.
the inspections due at the time of the service. However, the re-roof can be billed through escrow.
Okay. So how do you want to take care of this?
So what I'll do is once I have the report written, I'll send you over a payment link, and then just click the payment link or forward it on to your buyer.
Okay.
They punch in their credit card, and then at that point they'll be able to download the report.
All right. Sounds good.
So, all right.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for coming.